How does it make you feel?
Well, what can I say now? When you talk about giants' rights, do I really have any giants' rights? But I think I'm just happy for life. I'm happy that I'm alive. I'm happy that I'm healthy. I'm happy that my mom is healthy. Somebody asked me a couple of years back. So somebody was asking me what my achievement was for that year. And I said my achievement for that year was that my mom didn't go to hospital throughout the year. You see, a lot of things that we chase in life, and we say, talk about strides and all of that. When you have some other experiences, you will realize that maybe those are not really the strides, you know. So, to be honest, that's the way, that's my perception generally. So when you are alive and you are healthy, and you have food on your table, you are amongst, like I read recently, amongst the lucky people in the world. Let me just put it that way, because there are a lot of other people going through all sorts of things. So,
when you turned 60 last year,
yeah,
what was the feeling like?
To be honest, I didn't feel any difference. I think age is just a number. I think age is just a number. I didn't feel any different than when I was 40 or even 30, you know. But I think it's something to celebrate anyway, because I have friends that went to school together. Some of them are no longer alive. Some of them are not in very good shape. So turning 60, I looked at myself. I said, "Oh, so I'm 60 now," you know. But as I said, in terms of maybe physical or physiological, I don't feel any difference. But I am grateful, you know, because I see that it's a number that a lot of people celebrate. So I think as a show of appreciation, I should also celebrate it, although I didn't call it party.
So how did you?
Well, I think that was when I set my mind on writing my autobiography. Yes. I said, if God spared me to be 60, I would do something to mark it. And since all my life I've written about people, I will write about myself. So I was 60 October last year. So I started writing the book January last year, with the objective of making it ready and throwing it out there. I didn't plan to do any public presentation. I just wanted to put it on record that at 60, I wrote this book. So, but unfortunately, maybe fortunately or unfortunately, I was out of town. You were asking me a short while ago about Abuja. I was in Abuja for an assignment, for a national assignment around when I was 60 last year. So I didn't come back to Lagos until around November, December. And then that was when I got back to now wrap up the book. And that's why I'm doing the public presentation. January last year, January 2024.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was the experience like trying to put together your thoughts, the materials, and all of that? What went through your mind as you were wading through all of that, preparing the book?
It was fun, first and foremost. Because I had so much material to put together. My dad had kept a very meticulous record of my life, you know, from even before my birth, you know, until I left his guidance. What I mean, living under his roof, you know. So he gave me 3 bunches of files, my whole story, my life, my schooling, my health, my well-being, how he took care of me, you know, everything was in the file. And I said, this trove of rich material must not just go to waste. I mean, I'm a writer. I should be able to put this together. So that was one motivation for me to write that book. I didn't want my dad's efforts to just go to waste, because My children, I'm sure, they'll just throw those files away. But it's not going to be easy for them to just throw my book away. So that was one motivation. And also the fact that I'm a writer. I've written so much about so many people for so many years. I should write about myself. And then I read quite a number of biographies as well, and autobiographies. And I really enjoy reading them. So I said, okay, let me also add to that body of knowledge, if I can use that expression. So those were the motivations for writing the book.
Once your name is mentioned, the next thing is sports. And I'm wondering, how did that relationship evolve?
All right.
How did it?
Well, again, maybe I should go back to my dad again. Because I remember when I was young, when he wanted to rebuke me, he would say the only things I know to do is to eat, to sleep, and to play. You know? So maybe I've always played all my life, and I think so too. Thinking back at school, I've always played. I even wonder how I got to pass my exams. So I always loved sports. I always played sports. And when I got to secondary school, my English language and literature and English language teacher, a certain John Amoa, a Ghanaian, he brought my attention to the fact that maybe I had a gift, for writing. So he was the first ever to mention to my hearing that maybe you should consider being a journalist. I never heard a journalist before then, so I took note of it. And so by the time I got to University of Lagos, I decided to do mass communication. And because I love sports and I can write, that's how sports writing came about.
How did you now evolve? How did you start?
Yeah, starting, I think I will give that credit. I give the credit for my writing. I will give the primary credit to my dad again, because when I was young, each time I went out, he sent me on an errand. We went on vacation, or we went to visit relatives, or we were in the car with him in traffic. When we got back home, we had to write a composition. We had to write a composition of what we had experienced, what we had seen, the people we have visited, the places we had visited. And my dad will go through with a red ink and make corrections. And so I would think that would be the foundation of my writing talent or whatever. So when I got to school, secondary school, and my teacher, Mr. John Amwa, discovered that talent and encouraged me to be a journalist. The first journalist that made an impact on me was Sonny Ojiagbese. Maybe because I love sports. Each time my dad sent me to buy the newspapers, I would start reading from the sports pages. And in 1980, SO was the sports editor of the Sunday Concord. And his pages were captivating. Not only the stories, the page designs. Before you even start reading the stories, the arrangement of the pages will arrest your attention. So he was the first journalist to make an impact on me. That was when I just finished school SAT, 1980, 1981. He was sports editor, Sunday Concord. And then I think from there he moved to The Guardian as a pioneer editor of The Guardian, I think 1982, 83, thereabouts. So I followed him again to The Guardian. And when he left to set up Sports Souvenir, I think I stopped following him for quite a while. But before then, I took part in one of his competitions in Sunday Concord. In fact, that was my first competition. He published a question and he said we should submit answers. And I submitted an answer. And I won the prize. I won the prize and I went to the Sunday Concord to collect my prize. And that's a different story. It's different story. I told all of that in my book anyway. So, so talking about starting a career, I think that was where I started from. Got to Unilag. I was sports editor. Unilaxon when I was in part 2, in final year, because all my classmates, they knew that Mumini in sports, So when I graduated, there was no other thing to do than to write sports or to write more sports.
So you went straight into the media?
Straight into the media. I did my youth service in Enugu, 87, 88. And 88 was when the Champion newspaper started, October 88. Chief Emmanuel Nwanyam. So I was in Enugu when I saw the publication, vacancies in the sports, in the newspaper, upcoming newspaper. I responded, and I missed the interview, unfortunately. I was shortlisted for interview, but I missed it because I was in Enugu. By the time I came back to Lagos, interviews had been conducted. I actually applied for a role of a sports reporter. So I missed that, and one thing led to the other, and I ended up at Complete Football. So the SO that I was reading in 1980, I was seeing him for the first time in 1988. And that was how it all started.
Your experience, so especially when you joined and all of that, till now, must really be a major, like a major book in itself.
Honestly, you can say that again.
Yeah. Because when you have been consistent with that experience, it means that
it's how can I put it now? SO was he was a great man. He was a great man. People have different ways of describing greatness. I will describe greatness as somebody who is visionary, who is compassionate. I think those two are enough, because visionary, you can put all your professionalism, all your other things. Compassion, you can put all your integrity and all your every other thing under it. Because I think compassion beats everything in my estimation, because we're talking about relationships now. And compassion to your family members, to your colleagues, to your subordinates, to your superiors. I think compassion makes the world go round, in my opinion. I think it trumps everything. So SO had both of those. He had great vision. He had great vision and he had great compassion. So, his vision fired the business, the creativity, every other thing that you need to drive a media organization, the resilience. I know I'm talking to somebody who understands that very well. You need a lot of resilience to make a success of a publishing venture. So we had all of that, and we had a very, very, very compassionate, friendly, warm relationship in terms of employer-employee, which translated later to business partnership and all of that. So, and that's why you have talked about the consistent consistency. Because what are we looking for in life? It's just basic things to keep us going, and they were fine.
What's your view of the industry looking back now as the evolution of the industry and where we are today? What do you make of it? Transition.
Well, I think the major transition that we've had is the coming of the internet, and now social media has followed. That's been the major, and it's been a game changer. We are stuck with it, and it has come with a lot of positives. Media plurality now. Everybody's a publisher, is a broadcaster, is an editor. It's good. Freedom of opinion. Everybody can say what they want to say. But I think the world is paying a big price for that as well. A very big price. which unfortunately, I think the world is stuck with it. As professionals, we were trained, as gatekeepers. And gatekeeping means ensuring that what is not supposed to get into the public domain does not get there. In terms of sustaining morality, values, and so on and so forth. All that has been thrown overboard, by this all-commerce affair that we have on the internet and on social media. And I don't see how that can be stopped. So that's why I said the world is stuck with it. Except, of course, if each country decide to take their destiny in their hands, like I know quite a number of countries are doing, in terms of putting controls. Just a few days ago, I read that Australia was going to ban young people from having access to some social media handles. Outright ban. Otherwise, the society will go to the dogs. But when some of us make this argument, people think, oh, you're just trying to protect your industry. You don't want people to come in there. Now everything is open. It's all well and good. But the society is already paying the price and will continue to pay that price unless the government decides to step in, and control. Yes, control the use of this technological advancements that, as I said, we are stuck with it, come with a lot of positives, but we need to also be able to try to control the negatives.
How do you also feel about sports development in Nigeria? Especially when you look back at the journey we've made so far, and what are your inputs? Because I know that I know how pained you are that perhaps we're not where we're supposed to be and all of that. And do you think that all that will change? Do you think talking about it will continue?
We have to keep talking about it because, as Riley said, with the kind of endowment that Nigeria has in sports in terms of natural endowments, talents, we're not where we're supposed to be. We're not where we're supposed to be. I give people the example of France when they won the World Cup. When France won the World Cup the first time in 1998 and again recently, not less than 60-70% of their players were of black origin. And what's the population of France? Nigeria is the biggest black nation in the world. So we can multiply the number of black players that France were able to line up to win that World Cup. We can have triple that number here in Nigeria. If we do the proper things that France have done, if we are able to replicate it here. What has France done? Infrastructure, organization, planning, investment. If Nigeria did all of those, Nigeria would be world champions in football. If Nigeria did all of those, Nigeria would be the one producing the Usain Bolts of athletics. We can see what our basketballers, we can see what Nigerian-born sportsmen are doing in diaspora. They are able to achieve all of those in diaspora because of the infrastructure, the facilities, the training, the encouragement, and all those factors that they have access to. All those talents are right here in Nigeria. But unfortunately, we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the training facilities, we don't have the coaching, we don't have so many other factors that will let these natural talents blossom. And that's why we are where we are. Occasionally, we have shown what we can achieve. Occasionally. And I think the biggest occasion was in Atlanta 96 when we won that gold medal in football. So occasionally we have these flashes, just. And again, recently, the Falcons winning the WAFCON for the 10th time. These are occasional demonstration of our capacity. These are things we should be doing consistently if we had those other structures, those other, inputs in place. So I see us as a land of missed opportunities, in terms of what could have been achieved in sports. But what makes it even worse is the fact that I can't see, sometimes when you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, that encourages you to continue on the journey. I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe I should add yet. I can't see it yet. We can only hope that maybe it will come. Otherwise, Nigeria should be conquering the world in sports. At least in the sports where we have the advantage: football, athletics, boxing, all the power sports, powerlifting, weightlifting, wrestling, combat sports. We are naturally endowed. Athletics, we are naturally endowed. Football, so we can only hope. I mean, go to the US. Who plays basketball? It's the blacks that play basketball mostly. We have millions of the blacks here in Nigeria, which means we should be dominating basketball if we have the kind of structures that the Americans have in place for basketball in Nigeria.
Let's talk about what you do now. I mean, I know that you've done so many things, you write, but what's your area of concentration now?
Yes, part of the reason I went back to school to do my PhD is because my plan is to teach. My plan is to teach, transfer some of my modest knowledge and experiences to upcoming journalists, particularly sports journalists. I've had a couple of offers, but I didn't take them because they were not convenient for me. So hopefully something convenient will crop up. Because I've got used to commuting from my home to my office. It's not 5-10 minutes. Now something far away at my age, I said, no, this is not the time for me to be going long distances. So I'm looking for something close by. Apart from that, I do a bit of consultancy to put food on the table. And then again, I've started a golf website. That's a sport that I've always followed. And I think now I want to promote it more. And I'm a journalist, so let me use my craft to try to promote the sport more. It's a sport that is underreported and so on and so forth. So I have a golf website that I'm doing, and so for now, those are the things that occupy my time.
How about the daily edition? I know it still comes out.
Beg your pardon.
I said, how about the daily edition? I know it still comes out.
Yes, the daily edition, Complete Sports.
Yes.
We are fully online now. Yes, we stopped the print version because it became unsustainable. Challenges of publishing in Nigeria, even globally. I mean, since the advent of the internet and social media, I think it's the print media that was first hit. We were the first to be hit, and we are still the one to be hit the most. Because the broadcast organizations were able to quickly, so we are having to go and jump them, carrying cameras around now and stuff like that. So, so we had to stop the print version because it wasn't adding up anymore. The business model had lived its profitability. So we stopped it, and we are fully online, and it is profitable. And that's why all other things that I'm also doing now is online. I said earlier that yes, the internet is an enabler. There are a lot of positives, but then it comes with its downsides as well.
So do you think the end of the print media is has come? Or do you still see it being extended?
Well, it depends on the genre, all right, and also the context, that is, the country. In our country, I would think that because we have this culture of celebrations, people will always say celebrate their birthdays in the newspapers, will congratulate each other on chieftaincy titles. Government officials will mark this and mark that. So I think newspapers in the politics and particularly in politics, they will always find their customers. But those of us in the sports, we can't publish birthday parties. So and that's the bread and butter of obituaries. Those are the bread and butters, and then of course government patronage. So those of us in the sports, we've never been part of that bonanza. So it was easy for the internet to knock us off the table because we are a reader-centric, primarily reader-centric publication. So for those who still have access to those opportunities, I think their life might be extended, for as long as the patronage continues to come. I'm sure definitely no newspaper can survive anymore on sales returns. It's not possible. We did it at Complete Sports for the first number of years. We survived only on readership patronage because we didn't have advertisements, for quite a long time. So it's not possible anymore. So, but globally too, of course, we know that quite a number of major publications have closed shop, particularly regional publications, and those that are surviving now is because they already established some followership on the internet and subscribers. So,
at the time you took that decision, how painful was it?
It wasn't painful. Okay. It wasn't painful because we planned for it. In fact, we started the plan in 2018, and we finally closed down in 2022. So that was 4 years. So it was a planned exit. So the transition was I won't say smooth. That may be under but if it was planned, then you know what is coming. So in fact, the last edition was published the day after the 2022 World Cup finals in Qatar. So we planned it that way that we will report the final match of Qatar 2022, and that will be the end of Complete Sports as a print operation. Before then, the online version was already doing very well, so we just moved there.
Any regrets looking back?
Well, I won't say regrets, but I would say lessons.
Okay.
Yes. I avoid talking about regrets, because as I said at the opening, yes, we can control quite a number of things in our lives, in our planning, but from a religious point of view, quite a number of other things are beyond our control. So there's no point regretting, what is beyond your control. So rather than regret, we talk about lessons, which you can now share with other people. Oh, this was my experience. So don't go this part because that was the part I took and it led to this. So you don't go. But I won't regret taking that part, because at the time I took the part, a lot of factors would have been put, considered. The fact that it didn't work out doesn't mean necessarily that it was a failure, but then you take a lesson from it, So yes, quite a number of lessons, private life, professional life, business, relationships, quite a number of lessons, which definitely informs what one now does going forward, talking about being 60 and all of that, giving direction to your children or your subordinates and those who are coming behind. So a lot of lessons. And particularly for me, when it comes to Complete Sports, I will even say the lesson is that maybe we should have started the transition earlier than we did. Yes. even earlier than we did. The first time we published Complete Sports Online was 2005. We started as Nigerian Sports Online. It was the first major sports website, you know. And then we started building it from there. But because the print business was still doing good, we weren't paying enough attention. Looking back now, we weren't paying enough attention. So those are some of the lessons that one can take. Maybe we should have started a lot earlier. And even some of our publications that we rested along the line, maybe we shouldn't have rested them completely. We should just have transitioned them straight online. Another publication that we started, I think in 2012, maybe we shouldn't have started it at all. We should have started online, you know. So from a business point of view, from the publishing point of view, I think those are the lessons. So what I tell people now is, once you want to do something, just do it now. Just do it now. And don't get carried away by some other successes that you're enjoying elsewhere, you know. So I think that will be the lesson that I will share from our experience.